Hey, welcome to the conversation. Welcome to the very first episode of Consent of the Governed. If you're wondering why the name, it's taken directly from the founding document of the United States, of the Great American Experiment. In the Declaration of Independence, it clearly states that governments derive their just power from the consent of the governed. And that's one of the ideas that this country was built upon. Government's legitimacy comes from the consent of the people, not from force, not from fear, and definitely not from technology. The people grant the government its authority, and the people have the responsibility to decide where that authority has grown beyond its intended limits. And that's what this podcast is about. Now, this is not a Republican podcast, nor is it a Democrat podcast. If you've read or know anything about me, you'll know that I'm not a big fan of either political party. And I think all politicians are equally valuable and equally worthless at the same time. It's not about left versus right. It's about something much bigger. It's about the relationship between citizens and the state. It's about privacy and liberty. It's about constitutional rights, surveillance, and emerging technologies. It's about artificial intelligence, government databases, and corporate data collections. I'll be asking the difficult questions and about where we're headed as a society. Recently, I covered some books that I read as a child. For example, I read 1984 in 1984. Did a podcast about it. I'll put it up on this page. I think it's over on Tick Bite NC at the moment. That content needs its own page, and that's why I've created this one. Now, my goal is not to tell you what to think. My goal is to encourage you to think. Many of you know me from Tick Bite NC. Those stories are focused around different issues, but this project is different. It's something I've wanted to build for a long time. Earlier in my career, I served in military intelligence in the U.S. Army. After that, I worked for a couple of three-letter agencies. Yeah, the alphabet boys. Those experiences gave me some first-hand look at how intelligence systems work and how information is collected. And I learned how incredibly powerful databases had become. Now, I'm not going to be here sharing classified information. I won't do it. So if you're here hoping I'll slip up and say something, not going to happen. But I will talk about what's in the news today, the stories that are important to you, and I'll give you an analyst's look at what's going on there. Technology itself is not evil, and databases aren't evil. The danger comes from how those tools are used, who controls them, and more importantly, what oversight exists. And does the public even know what's being collected? I can assure you that in some of these podcasts, I'm going to share some information with you that's going to completely blow your mind. Some of you are going to say I need to put my tinfoil hat on, and maybe I do. But once the information is gathered, it rarely disappears. These license plate reader cameras, I've read about where they say that they collect the information for 21 days and the city has access to it for 21 days. I don't believe that. Maybe the city has access to it for 21 days, but I don't believe they delete it. I really don't. But once that information's gathered, it rarely disappears, and that should concern everyone, regardless of your political party. This is not a new interest for me. I started back in 2009 writing about surveillance, privacy, and digital trafficking and government databases. I also covered a political election when the guy that's currently in office was elected the first time. And I attended a couple of political rallies on both sides. And I pointed out that one of the rallies that there were hardly any people there, but on TV they showed a whole bunch of people. Well, my account was shut down not long after that, and I lost it. Anyway, At the time, many people dismissed those concerns as conspiracy theories. I talked about phone metadata. I warned that governments didn't need to listen to every phone call, and they didn't need to store your information so they could dig it out later and use it against you. They didn't know who simply needed to talk to who. They didn't need to be able to draw a map of where you'd been every day. And years later, Ed Snowden showed the public at large that I knew what I was talking about, that large-scale communication metadata was real, and they were collecting it. Suddenly, the conversation that had once been dismissed became part of the national debate. Unfortunately, my original Facebook page was taken away from me and deleted. I discussed those topics, and I had a pretty good following. People that knew me were really interested in what I had to say, and some of you that didn't know me were too. Like many creators, I had to start over and rebuild an audience from scratch. And that's what I'm doing now. I'm building a brand new YouTube page from absolutely nothing. In some ways, that turned out to be a blessing. Today, we have more information than ever before. We have more examples than ever before, and we have more technology. Technology is advancing faster than people realize, and technology is advancing faster than the courts can keep up with it. Artificial intelligence, facial recognition, automated plate readers, cell phone data, and commercial data brokers, they're all a threat to your liberty. Predictive analytics is something that's very interesting too. They take the information that you provide to them and predict what you're going to do. Think about that. How about digital identity systems? I don't think we're far from having to have a certain type of ID, and if you don't have it, you can't do anything. Individually, all these technologies may seem useful, even beneficial, but when they're connected together into a massive database, they create capabilities that previous generations could scarcely imagine. That's why this conversation matters. And over the coming weeks, I'm going to separate fact from fiction. We're going to examine public records, court decisions, government documents, and real-world examples. Sometimes we'll agree, and sometimes we won't. Sometimes we'll question it, but we'll always try and keep the discussion grounded in evidence rather than fear. I don't expect everyone to agree with me. In fact, I hope you challenge the ideas respectfully. I'm probably going to do some of these as live podcasts and let you come on stage and talk. Healthy debate is part of a free society, and that's something we seem to have forgotten, that we need to be able to talk with each other. In the next episode, I'm going to dive into one of the fastest growing surveillance technologies in America, automated license plate readers and the enormous databases they're creating. Who owns that data and who has access to it? How long is it stored? Can private companies search it? Can law enforcement agencies across the country share it? And the biggest question of all is, at what point does convenience begin to outweigh liberty? If those are questions you're interested in, you're coming to the right place. I hope you'll subscribe to the YouTube page. It's free. Share this podcast with someone who enjoys thoughtful discussions about technology and freedom. And join me as we take a closer look at the world. This world is quietly being built up around us. We need to realize it before it's too late. I'm Todd Edwards, and this is Consent of the Governed. Thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next episode.